Some days are dominated by one big project, and then there are other days where you just have a ton of little things going on that you need to keep an eye on, or just little things that you got to keep moving forward with to achieve some of the bigger goals that you've set. That is pretty much the definition of today. So I wanted to bring you guys around and show you all the different things that we've got going on, get everybody up to speed. That's what's going on today on Farmertylerranch. I've been hatching chicks this year, and because my laying flock has dwindled down to only 3 hens due to predator loss, the best I can do is getting about 3 to 6 eggs a week to hatch. Now what that has led to is a ton of different pens for all these different chicks. So now I've got chicks ranging in age so much that I've got fully feathered chicks that are outside on grass. And I've still got a group of chicks that haven't even hatched yet in the incubator. And of course, we've got every age in between. So this is sort of the first brooder that they go into. They'll get a heat lamp 24 hours a day in here. And these chicks, I think they're only a couple weeks old. There's actually 2 age groups in here. I had to combine them. And I was a little bit nervous about doing that because I wasn't sure if the older chicks might bully on the younger ones, but it hasn't seemed to be an issue. My older group of chicks are over here. They're only getting the heat lamp at night when it cools down, and I'm just sort of trying to acclimate them off of it. And once they get fully feathered out, they'll go back outside with the others. And last but not least, of course, are the eggs that are in the incubator still. I think there's about 13 or 14 in here, and this is gonna be my last hatch because I'm just running out of places to put all these chicks. I might run another group through here in the middle of summer. I think it'll be a little bit easier to incubate when it's warmer out. But for now, these guys are supposed to hatch, I think, on the 8th. So I'm filming this on the 7th. So yeah, that's tomorrow. They're gonna hatch soon. So all the different groups of baby chicks have been occupying my time, and really the main reason for that is because I have them in 3 different pens. That's 3 waters I need to check every day and 3 feeders. It's not that it's anything that's really hard to do, it's just another thing that I've got to do. The 8N loader tractor is also nearing completion. This is my last wheel that I need to paint, and once it dries completely, I can go ahead and throw the new tire on there. Once I do that, then I can sort of reassemble a few things and test out the hydraulic system. Let me take you in the shop and show you what else I've done. When I look at this tractor, the first thing that really jumps out is the one new tire and repainted wheel that I've got on here. I think they turned out pretty good. I'm not a good painter, I'll come right out and say it, and there are definitely some runs and drips on that wheel, but as long as you're standing about 5 or 6 feet back, it looks really good. Since you guys last saw this tractor, I think I've replaced pretty much every hydraulic hose on it, and I also rebuilt the lift cylinders. Rebuilding the lift cylinders on this tractor was actually really simple. This is old technology, and they're just one-way, that's a mouthful, one-way rams. I did film the process though, and I'm gonna roll that footage now.
Here's our worn out lift cylinder in desperate need of a rebuild. The first step to this process is to remove the packing nut off the top. A strap wrench or some sort of non-marring tool will probably be way better than a pipe wrench, but sometimes you just gotta use what you've got. With the packing nut removed, the next step is to remove what the parts manual refers to as the piston. Now, I am not sure that I would call this a piston, but that's what they call it, so I guess that's what it is. With the so-called piston removed, the shaft now pulls right out of the cylinder. I plan on painting these and trying to make them look nice, so at this point with the cylinder completely disassembled, it's a good time to get the wire wheel out and try to get all the rust and old paint off of these cylinders. Now I'll remove the bolt at the end of the shaft that secures the stop plate. Once that's off, the piston should slide right off the shaft. Followed by the packing gland. With the piston on the table, I can grab a pick and start removing the old packing. These cylinders use a style of packing called V-packing, and basically what that is several different round V-shaped seals that all sort of interlock together. On the other side of the piston, there's an O-ring that needs to come out, and that is going to do it for the parts that need to be replaced. After a light coat of oil to help ease installation, I can start putting the new packing seals back in. I'll alternate between black seals and white seals because the black seals are for low pressure sealing and the white seals are for high pressure. I've got the old seals sitting on the table, and the reason is that I want to make sure that I reinstall the same number of seals that I took out. Once all the seals are in there and everything looks good, the piston is now ready to go back on the shaft. First, we'll put the packing nut on, followed by the wiper or dust seal. The packing gland, and finally the piston. With everything in place, facing the correct direction, and in the correct order, we can use the shaft to sort of align all these parts and then take the packing nut and just barely snug it down. Reinstall the stop plate. And lastly, the cylinder. Now I'm going to collapse the shaft inside of the cylinder because, after all, I'm going to be painting this thing and I definitely do not want paint getting on that shaft. Before I hang this thing up to paint though, I want to go ahead and finalize my torque settings on the packing nut, if you can call it that. The service manual for this model states that you should hand tighten these nuts, and as you continue to use the machine, you can continue to just cinch that down if it starts leaking. And after a quick wipe down with some acetone, this lift cylinder is done and ready for paint.
I still need to put the other new tire on the newly painted wheel. There actually will be a video about that because that is enough of a process in itself that there's enough footage there to make a whole video. It's not something that I really enjoy doing, but it was something that I wanted to try to do just to see if I could, because you just never know when you might find yourself in a situation when you need to get that done and there's nobody that can do it for you. Once the other rear wheel is assembled and put back on the tractor, I can throw the fenders back on, pull this thing outside, and test the hydraulic system. After that, I think all that's left is just to finish wiring up these lights and building a rear counterweight. I've got 300-pound wheel weights, and I'm gonna fill these tires with water, so we've already got a pretty good ballast, but I'm thinking that having a little bit more, probably not the worst idea. So that, I think, will be it for this project. Then we'll just have to put it to work and hope it doesn't break. So let's run down to the ranch and see what's going on with the cows. The calf count is up to 6 now, and that breaks down to 3 out of our 10 heifers have had their calves, and 3 out of our 30 adult cows have had theirs. It's still pretty early in the season, honestly. We really don't, I mean, on the calendar, we shouldn't get calves until the middle of March. I mean, obviously we get some early ones, that's to be expected, but I don't really expect this to go into full swing for probably another week or so. I can see a lot of bags are starting to fill up, and I can see a lot of these cows look like they're about ready to pop. In the last video you guys saw, we're number 54 here, a first calf heifer gave birth to her very first little bull, and I was a little bit unsure about whether or not they were going to do all right out in the field by themselves. Little did I know that the next day we would have like 3 more calves out here, so she wouldn't be the only mother. But as you can see, these two have mothered up so good. She has the maternal ability of a cow 3 times her age. She's doing so good. I'm proud of her. But these two, like I say, they don't hardly ever get more than 20 feet away from each other. And really, guys, with a first calf heifer, it's kind of unheard of. So here's a good case in point of that. Number 50, this red white face heifer right behind me, and number 57, the solid black heifer right here, are both mothers as well. But their calves are way over. I don't know if you guys can see that black cow standing in the background. She's babysitting for these 2 girls. You don't see that from number 54. Now, some people might think that I'm kind of joking when I say that this other cow's babysitting the other calves, but that is actually something you do see with cattle behavior. It's not uncommon to look out in the field and see one cow laying with 5 or maybe even as many as 10 calves and just sort of keeping an eye on them while the mothers of the other ones are off eating. Our latest addition out here was out of number 38 back here behind me. She doesn't want me to get real close, which is understandable. But she had a nice little black white face calf herself. The heifers this year were with a black Angus bull, so I expect most of them to be black or mostly black. But the adult cow herd was with a black Angus bull and a Hereford bull. If you guys remember, the Hereford bull had to leave a little bit early because he injured one of his legs. Now I can't remember if it was a front or a back. I think it was a front. But anyway, he left after maybe 6 weeks, maybe 2 months. And I kind of wondered how much work he'd gotten done. But as the adult cow herds start to drop calves on the ground, it's starting to become pretty obvious that old Mr. Hereford bull, he was having a good time before he left. In fact, up to this point, every cow from the adult herd that's had a calf has been a solid black cow, so we know they're mostly black Angus. And every one of them has had a black and white faced calf, so it kind of says it all. Over here at the winter pasture, it's kind of the same story, except that we only have 1 live calf on the ground here. I think, kind of like the home ranch, in about a week or so they're going to get going, because I do see a lot of bags and I do see a lot of cows that look like they're probably getting pretty close. When you're raising livestock, it's important to keep an eye on them every day, but especially during calving season, I want to try to be out here twice, maybe even 3 times a day, and I am going to be paying especially close attention to my first calf heifers. The reason for that is that statistically speaking, I think it's like over 80% of calving difficulty happens with first calf heifers. And the young heifers, this will probably present itself as just simply not being able to push the calf out or not knowing to just lay down and work on it. Older cows have that part figured out. With the older cows, we're watching more for like twins or breech calves, all of which I've had. Breeches are pretty rare, and a lot of times the older cows can do that on their own. Sometimes they can't. The big concern with twins is that she's going to walk off and abandon one, and we've had that happen plenty of times as well, which is how we ended up with this guy. So while the old cows may not have as many problems, they still can have problems. So it's just important to watch everybody. After walking through these girls and checking everybody out, I think that these cows all look good, and I see a lot of signs that indicate the calves are coming, but I don't really see any signs that indicate that they're coming today. So I think I can leave these cows alone for the day and head back home. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, and I hope I'll see you again on Farmer Tyler Ranch.